I always remember Big Roy Aitken telling my dad when I was a kid. He used to say that he never knew the words of the sash because usually they'd scored before they got to the second verse. I think Ali McCoist needs to have a look back at Rangers back in the 80s and see just how bad they were. Ali McCoist has been saying that it's the game. We're still going on about this game yet. And because there's no game this weekend, this is going to continue. And the meltdown that's coming at Ibrox is quite hilarious. Ali McCoist has been going on about he also thought that the game was bang average, to tell you the truth. And he said that to Brendan. Brendan, in the defence of Celtic, come out with an absolute cracker. He says, to be fair, sometimes they normally are, Ali. He says, the atmosphere and everything, isn't it? He says, on playing with no away support, when you go away from home in these type of games, you have to quieten the home support. And I think that's what we have to take from this. And remember, it is all due to the fact that Brendan was so successful the first time round that it's basically led to this no away fans nonsense. And people are saying that Celtic should now back down. Absolutely not. Celtic should not back down and give them tickets in December. Anyway, Brendan Rodgers went on to say the stadium was bouncing before the game. I always think when you go to Ibrox, in particular, you have to control the game and the ball. We were able to do that in the first half, said Brendan Rodgers, the triumphant Celtic manager. He says, very quickly, we got into a nice rhythm in the game. That can always change the temperature in the ground, which it did. And the fact that the crowd went completely silent and there was no celebrations at all when Kyogo scored that goal. And a lot of pundits have said that the atmosphere of the once Old Firm back 2012, before 2012, when the Old Firm was a thing, and the new Glasgow Derby just doesn't live up to the Old Firm. Let's face it. The new Glasgow Derby is nothing compared to the atmosphere of the Old Firm derbies of old, before Rangers died, before they went into liquidation, and before they spat the dummy out and reduced the allocation. But let's move on. Rodgers, in his second stint, he is just finding his feet. When you look at the amount of players that were out injured, the onus was all on Rangers at the weekend. The onus was all on Rangers. They were at home. They had a full fan base. And they thought they were going to do something. They thought they were going to absolutely hammer us due to the injuries. Now, they're not talking about the injuries that we've got since the game's been and gone. They're just saying things like the atmosphere wasn't as good, VAR, and other things to try and deflect from the fact that their manager is absolutely mince and they're absolutely mince. Anyway, the big surprise is there is no surprise. Celtic will get stronger. Key players will return over the next couple of weeks. The treatment room will become like just an empty office. Whilst the new signings will settle in and Celtic will get stronger. It wouldn't surprise me that the time that the Glasgow Derby comes at the end of the year, the gap could be even more than just 4 points. Tell me what you think about that in the comments, and make sure you hit the thumbs up just because it helps the video. It does get more reach, and leave us a nice little comment. Tell me where you are watching the video from this morning. So obviously next up, the big test is obviously the Champions League for Celtic. Celtic find themselves just around the corner heading to Rotterdam, and 2,400 fans will get tickets for that, and there might be more Celtic fans in the stadium. You never know, but they do play Lazio, they do play Feyenoord and Atletico Madrid. Madrid, you would expect, are aiming for maximum points, and they'll probably aim to try and top the group, as you would expect. Celtic's aspirations has to be to finish third and to try and get European football after Christmas. That's all we ask of this year, is to try and finish third. Finishing bottom with hardly any points is just wouldn't be progress. This year was all meant to be about progress in Europe. Previously, during European competitions, it's been difficult. Let's just say it's been difficult. But the fact that we did get new signings in the door, and the atmosphere at Celtic Park needs to return. These big nights, it has to be. It's almost like a 12th man on the pitch. These nights, we have to make Celtic Park a fortress once again. And the fans can definitely do that by getting behind the team fully for the 90 minutes. Talking about the Champions League, Brendan Rodgers has been talking about it. He said, this is what it's all about. The football challenge in the Champions League is huge, but the supporters will be fantastic. The cities that they go to, and the cities and the numbers that they will travel to these cities will be absolutely fantastic. He said it's always going to be a challenge for Scottish teams in Europe. We know the numbers involved economically The strongest leagues always go further. It's just as simple as that. But we want to show that we are competitive. We want to show that we can compete. And that's what we aim to do this season. The group gives us a fighting chance. But the teams in the group, remember, are very, very good. They're not in the Champions League for no reason. We aim to be competitive, Brendan Rodgers says. The atmosphere at Celtic Park is incredible. I've been lucky enough to be involved at Liverpool and Man United games and Liverpool and Everton. There's nothing quite like it. The Celtic Rangers game, the atmosphere isn't what it was. But, you know, when it comes to the Champions League, the atmosphere at Celtic Park, he cannot wait for it, said Brendan Rodgers. And whilst Ali McCoist and Brendan Rodgers did exchange a few words on a radio station, Brendan Rodgers couldn't help himself. A cheeky little dig to the cheeky little chap known as Ali McCoist. He said, Ali, I'm just worried for you. He says, I'm really concerned. He says, if they start taking tickets off home supports, you know, I'm worried that you might not get in. That's absolutely fantastic. Rodgers obviously couldn't resist that cheeky little pop with regards to the 700 tickets and the safety concerns that Celtic have brought up. And let's face it, 700 tickets is absolutely nothing. Putting fans in that corner, we're not going to keep on going on about it, because this will rear its ugly head again in December when they come calling and they're going to demand tickets for the fixture. But it is all about the Champions League for us going forward now before we meet them again. You know, we have to be a bit more competitive. We have to just make sure that we grab as many points as we can at home. And let's face it, when Madrid come, it's going to be one of the most difficult ties at Celtic Park this season. And you know, the Sevconians and the Rangers can't stop talking about Celtic. Barry Ferguson's got in that, saying that Kyogo Furuhashi is now worth probably the same money that Celtic sold the one and only Kieran Tierney for. And remember, there was a lot of speculation thinking that Kieran Tierney might come back to Celtic. I didn't think he would. I definitely thought if he had the chance to go to Spain over Celtic, he'll definitely go to Spain just to get a chance in playing in that league. He's done everything in Scotland before, so why go back to go over old ground, as they say. As a player, you want to test yourself to the limit, and obviously getting the chance to leave Arsenal and come over to Spain for a year would be fantastic for him, and I can understand why he did it. Taking away the financial point also. Right, Barry Ferguson has said that Kyogo Furuhashi is now worth around about 25 million. He says when Celtic come to sell him, Celtic are not going to sell Kyogo anytime soon. I think what we need to do is we need to look at the way that Kyogo has performed so far with the likes of the one and only King of Kings. Now there's a nice little comparison between Kyogo and Larsson being kicking around, since Kyogo's now played 88 games for Celtic, and what someone's done is they've done a comparison to Larsson's first 88 games. Now remember, Larsson's first game, he actually caused a goal. I think Celtic actually dropped points that day. He passed the ball back to, he actually misplaced the pass to Chuck Charnley and in the middle of the Hibs midfield, and Chuck Charnley hits a screamer. That's an absolute screamer. But Kyogo has played 88 games. He's had 76 starts. He's scored 57 goals. This is interesting stats. He's had 12 assists. He's played over 5,795 minutes, which is a 101 goals per minute ratio, and it's 84 goals per game average. Compare that to Larsson on 88 games. He had 87 starts. He had 57 goals, so Kyogo's actually scored the same amount of goals as Larsson in less games. He had 19 assists, is where Kyogo's only had 12 assists. That shows the complete player that Larsson was. Larsson had played 7,556 minutes. He had a goal per minute ratio of 132 goals. That's unbelievable. Goals per game average is 99. When you look at the goals and the number of games, I mean, they both played 88 games and they both scored 57 goals. Although Kyogo has only started 76 games, Larsson had started 87 by that point. So it just shows that it makes us think, what can Kyogo do in his Celtic career? If Kyogo can prove his worth in the Champions League by getting a few goals, and you remember he was quite unlucky last year, he didn't have his shooting boots on. I think if he can improve and if he can score goals, if he can hit the target and score goals this season in the Champions League, it will prove his value even more to Celtic, and it doesn't look like he's going to be leaving Celtic anytime soon. So what it does do is make sure that we've got a good player for the next couple of seasons, at least, and hopefully we can do well in the Champions League and can get a good run in Europe. So tell me what you think of the video today, and I shall see you, or might do a live this evening. It's Thursday, don't do a live normally, but might do a live at 5:15 Celtic Park time tonight, so check out the channel for that. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to